Hey, welcome back to Trendwatch Explained. Amazingly, we still have a lot of ground to cover, so before we do that, thanks again to our viewers and commenters. You do seem to want to know about how I produce these episodes and get the look and style going. I'll get into that. I may save that for a little bit later once we get through the episodes. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm thinking that'll sort of be its own thing. Anyway, let's get going with the next 6 episodes. These ones are really awesome, in my opinion, so let's go. Once again, there will be spoilers, and we'll link in the description as to which episodes will be spoiled. Episode 31, Permanent Arrays, TMC Systems. So we're really getting to the heart of the matter here. I don't know, hardcore episode. We're showing that sort of old school audio-visual equipment, text reads, autonomous TMC. We see a cabinet which appears to be called a housing, a thermoelectric generator, some generic equipment. It's an X-ray view. We pull back and we learn that it's called, these things are called PART modules. PART stands for Permanent Array Receiver Transmitter. Transceiver, essentially. So a transceiver, if anybody doesn't know, is just something that can transmit and receive. Like a microphone is a transceiver, or a speaker. I think a speaker or a microphone, they can be made to work both ways. Anyway, that's all that is. I could be totally wrong. Who cares? We see this 360 camera spin with all these PART modules, little radiation symbol on the side, alphanumeric designation on the side, with the text, 0 maintenance. We then see something that looks like a building, but it's telling us the depth is 3.2 miles. So we can assume this thing is underground. And what you're seeing is essentially a facility that's comprised of a bunch of these rooms full of these PART modules, and the sum of all that is the permanent array. Autonomous TMC. Again, the TMC stands for Transmedia Communication. Now, this is really what is referred to in later episodes as the machine. It's a system or asset briefing, something describing this particular asset, in this case a permanent array. And in my mind, this is a bit of a communications / information gathering facility that runs completely autonomously, doesn't require any outside power or maintenance. There's so many elements that if one breaks down, another one can take over. My thinking behind transmedia communication is, here we have a device that can communicate across radio waves, microwave spectrum, through the air, through the ground, into space. And while, it can communicate outward, it can also receive transmissions. In a later episode, we'll talk a little bit more about the capability. This video is just essentially a high-level overview of some of the components, what this thing is, where it might be. We see it's located, or it's implied that it's underneath a mountain. And at the very end of the episode, it gets a little bit dramatic as what appears to be an ELE comes in fast. We of course see the text hardened, secure, and dependable. Dependable with a little tilde beside it, indicating it may be impervious to things like ELEs or that sort of black atmospheric effect. The audio in this episode is, I just recorded some synth pulses. Maybe they're just synth bass kind of pulses. Vary the pitch and speed of them a little bit just to create a little bit of interest. I wanted something very monotonous, repetitive, stark, just to add that sort of spook factor. The thermoelectric generator, really similar to things that actually exist, although I don't think they need to spin or anything like that. Generally used on spacecraft, things like the Voyager probes carry these small reactors that generate electrical power. Not the safest thing to have laying around. It's not exactly a doomsday device, but it's perhaps it's a way to communicate with other assets if something goes horribly wrong. And things tend to go horribly wrong in this series from time to time. I was definitely influenced by, other sci-fi concepts that they're nothing new. What comes to mind specifically for me is there's a movie called Colossus: The Forbidden Project. I think it's from the 60s, maybe the early 70s. Pretty awesome movie, in my opinion. Check it out. Basically about a gigantic machine computer that the Civil Defense Department of Civil Defense built, put online. The idea was it was completely autonomous and would assist the US government in various ways. It, of course, became self-aware. Well, check out the movie. It's pretty cool. Hardened just references, you may have heard terms about like hardened electronics. They're just electronics that are impervious to radiological effects from nuclear weapons and that kind of thing, or EMP pulses and that type of thing. As far as we know, this is just an autonomous communications array of some kind. This device is pretty pivotal to the series, as you'll see as we go on. Episode 32, Wilderness TR WSS-1C. Another ridiculous episode title. Initially, I think I had called it Wilderness Survival Situations, which you can see, but somebody pointed out that, hey, there's a Gemini home entertainment episode with the same title. Oops. So I had to take steps to rectify that. I didn't really want to bite that. This video is kind of what to do in case of an emergency for a TR pilot when something goes wrong. You find your craft downed. What do you do to survive? So it's a really just simplistic process outlined here. Sort of a red and white color scheme, a 4-step process. What to do if you find yourself in a situation like this. We open on title card. The TR and the triangle are inverted, indicating distress. Step 1, maintain a fire for warmth and light. Just sort of a funny composite here with a ridiculous looking pile of sticks and some poorly comped fire. Step 2, stay close to camp. Camera pushes through some of the trees and we see, oops, the TR is on fire and apparently crashed. In event of a catastrophic failure in an unsecured location, ensure that your TR burns completely. Great advice. You wouldn't want anyone finding this classified technology. 3, negotiate with onlookers. There's that silhouette again. And then we see probably a Glock 9mm pop up briefly. The idea here is you may need to take some extreme measures if you encounter some onlookers or people who happen to see what's going on. Step 4, if pursued, remain hidden. Again, just fabulous advice. And then we see one of those parallelepiped rectilinear craft looking for the downed TR. So this is a direct callback to a previous episode where this craft took chase and followed the TR after it was done doing its dirty work. We then see a support vehicle apparently flying over the forest. This harkens back to, I think, TR procedures and teamwork as well as Sun Valley. So we're sort of connecting the dots there. You're getting a little taste of some of the capability of these cars, which there may be more than meets the eye there. The code in the corner is just again a naming convention for this particular briefing. A word about the silhouette in this series. It's not the same person all the time. It's just a visual shorthand for a person. So while you may see the silhouette show up periodically in different episodes in different situations, it's not necessarily the same person. I just want to make that clear. I think there's some confusion about that. Hey, Trendwatch thrives on your confusion, so now you know. In terms of audio for this episode, we're revisiting some music that was previously used in I think home distortion equipment. There's a few nature sounds, crackling fire, that kind of thing. Some electronic hum noises associated with the car. This is episode 33. Briefing procedures 1 to 3. Day 14, eyes only. Throwing in the eyes only classified information card again. I really dug this episode. Very simple 3-point structure. We see our ghost face guy. Again, I don't have a name. Day 14. So is this a reference to some sort of onboarding or boot camp? Or don't know. It's not clear. We never revisit that. Coming back to some classic quote-unquote music that we've heard before. Really helps set the tone here, I think. This is an Finum-spectant production, as indicated by the FS and the code in the upper right. We're encouraged to do three things here. Firstly, to review, absorb, and understand the information presented to you, as all my viewers attempt to do. It appears our ghost face guy is reading something. Step 1, review. We see a bunch of rectilinear cuboid shapes moving along various axes. Step 2, absorb. We see a rectangular cuboid object being absorbed into the back of presumably this character's hand. And lastly, step 3, understand. The hand rotates, we see an eye appear in the palm, and that's just symbolic of knowledge or comprehension. Just sort of a cool, fun, creepy visual to round this episode out. This is one of my favorite episodes. I'm not sure why. I think I just enjoy the simplicity of it. Intervals. If you've been wondering what the hell the 3 and 11 signify, are magic numbers, this episode is for you. We see a portion of the Earth rotating with the text changing times. Little pop-out graphic of a neighborhood with a star field in the background, and the text new local field. The star field is interrupted with some sort of moving shape in the background. We see the text predictable oscillation, and then an enhanced false color image appears, where we see this oscillating element in the background as black. We then see a diagrammatic depiction of the Earth, some sort of meteor on the side, and what looks like spaghetti. It's not spaghetti. This graphic just represents the oscillation of the new local field. The new local field, or NLF, was created, I believe, in Incident 2, where the null projector was, I guess, misused. Some sort of space-time or spatial distortion or anomaly was the result. The new local field, ushering in the age of new time. So we can be sure that the 3 and 11 represent intervals, oscillation intervals of the new local field where they intersect with the surface of the Earth. So here it's stated the oscillation is currently predictable. That may change in later episodes, as you may know. We're then given a little bit of a chart or a list of some of the effects you may experience at interval 3 and interval 11. 3 is a little more minor, with effects such as damage, disorientation, injury, and death, whereas interval 11 expands on that list. Well, yeah, there is damage, disorientation, injury, and death. There's also displacement, ablation, bounding, and then we just see a flash of ELEs indicated. So 11's clearly worse. Then we cut to the new time clock once again to finish out the episode. There's definitely a logic behind this episode, information presented in a maybe incomplete or abstract fashion, but if you know what you're looking at, you might understand. Definitely played with that concept of not really being too clear in these episodes, because I think that's a lot of fun. I don't love it when film or TV shows spell everything out and spoon feed. I think some of my most favorite media is rather mysterious, and there's large aspects of those storylines or devices or elements that just aren't explained, and I enjoy that. So Trendwatch is very, very much in line with that thinking when it comes to quote-unquote storytelling. Music was some weird, again, might have been 70s kids safety video or something run backwards. A lot of reversed music in this series. Transport. Had a lot of fun creating this one. I don't know why. Messing around with the Trendwatch title card. In this case, it's a green background with road lines replacing the grid. This is sort of a odd instructional video. I'm thinking it's somebody that has something to do with CA, which is another organization I haven't quite completely touched on. They're associated with the large rectangular spacecraft, parallelepipeds, that type of thing. Not Finum-spectant, Clearly we're centered around trucking and transport. We see some pretty odd instructions or suggestions, tips for driving, if you will. The audio was a bit of a soundscape made by a friend of mine, John Bitts. He's done a little bit of music and sound design on a few of these episodes. This episode I just really wanted to get a bit weird, if it hasn't been weird enough already. I'd mentioned that often things in the Trendwatch universe aren't exactly as they appear. Definitely playing with that here. Almost a driver training video of sorts. Much like the support vehicle for the TR, there's something not quite right with these trucks. Transport is really an exciting and rewarding field. We're encouraged to find our unique driving style. Again, this is not life advice. We're asked to remember the following: always overtake or pass. Always. It's very important, apparently. You've got to share the road. I mean, folks, this is so critical. Who these figures are dashing about, I don't know. Maybe they're not quite human either. Work as a team. Yep, another just great piece of advice. I love that visual. We see sort of a section of one of the large rectilinear craft being hauled by, I think it's like 5 trucks. And then we learn what these trucks are actually called. In my world, they're linear translators. Weird little breakdown of some of the components. Fun little callback here to the HDE with the MDE, which is literally the mobile distortion device. The cab shot, it's got to be one of my favorites. I call it control in this case. Again, just pulling back, what the hell is inside these things? Just this stark room with like one knob on some sort of plinth and a normal chair off to one side. No driver to be found. Truck is moving back and forth on the road, and the knob is sort of synced up with that. So it's almost like this truck or linear translator is a completely different technology, just masquerading as your common 18-wheeler. At the end, we get a little vignette where we return to the overpass. We see a truck pull up and come to a stop, and one of these little figures run away from behind a pillar. What exactly is unfolding in this little scene, we'll leave that up to you all to decide. We get another flash of the Hudson Valley area map with some routes indicated, some random numbers, an indication that these new routes are really going to make your life much easier and allow you to stay, I mean in this case, really close to home, like really close to home, as demonstrated in the sort of merged geometry of the linear translator and the house. In the cab, we do also see a little new time clock and some sort of control for the mobile distortion equipment. The back of the truck appears to be a restricted area, and this won't be the last time that we see this vehicle, and we'll also get a peek inside later on. Toys. This is a short one, but a good one, I think. We see an 11 with a tilde at the beginning of this episode. It's of course a very sort of POV, really erratic POV, little bouncy handheld cam kind of feel. We're rushing into the front door of one of the homes we've seen before, and immediately it's just a staircase down into the basement. As we make it to the basement and around the corner, we're greeted with a few of these little homes, but at a much smaller scale. Our POV is sort of looking around and clocks something off to the left. As we come around the edge of this wall, we see what appears to be an HDE unit moving on its own and emanating some sort of ultimately black energy or field that overtakes frame. If you look very carefully between the two of the homes, you'll see a tiny figure run between them and then run into another area in the basement. Again, the audio in this episode, the sound design was by my pal John Bitts. Just love the feel of this, so it fit perfectly. Again, super fun to produce. Soon we're going to come back to this episode and basically experience it from another perspective, and we'll see a little bit more of what's going on, so stay tuned for that. So that's it for part 6. I gotta say, I really loved all of these episodes. They're some of my favorite. I was having a lot of fun making these, and I'm actually having a good time telling you about them now. I think we learned a little bit more about the machine, the TMC array, which is really at the core of the series. Paid off a few things that we'd set up earlier, introduced a little bit more technology. Of course, we covered what the hell the 3 and 11 mean, and learned a bit about the new local field. Hope you enjoyed this one. As always, you can follow us on Instagram and join the discussion on the Discord server. And again, if you want to donate a couple bucks, there's a link to a coffee account. Of course, no pressure at all. All those links will be in the description. Catch you in part 7.